Je ne sais pas quel fil prendre pour... C'est quel fil que je prends pour brancher le PowerPoint?
Oh. Juste... Ah, OK. Tu n'as pas une USB?
Oui, j'en ai une.
Ah oui? OK. Si tu as une, tu peux le mettre là.
OK.
Ou peut-être on doit enlever... Quelqu'un a laissé leur...
il va venir la chercher. C'est peut-être mieux de...
Oui, je vais laisser là.
Probably not at this point. We're just slowly building our organization, but probably this time next year would be a little bit better. Well, we're a community TV organization. But we're in...
Ben, André m'a dit, viens ici.
C'est Victoria Fenner, je viens de parler avec elle.
OK.
Et la troisième personne, c'est Sid Tan, qui est disponible par Skype à Vancouver.
Je suis pas deuxième, troisième.
Qu'est-ce que tu préfères? Normalement, on met la personne par Skype à la fin, juste pour qu'ils ne doivent pas rester en ligne tout ce temps en attendant les questions.
OK.
Alors peut-être toi, Victoria, toi, Sid?
C'est bon.
OK.
Tu peux fermer ça devant.
Oh, OK.
Donc, je vais le mettre. Voilà.
Est-ce que tu dois retourner aujourd'hui, hein? Tu ne vas pas rester demain?
Oui, je suis là demain.
Oh, OK, fun.
2 days.
How was the connection with Simon Fraser? Was it good? Yeah. It was a wide shot I saw, but was it good presentations?
Yeah, it was great.
Good.
Yeah.
La diffusion en direct est sur notre site web à nous, les 3 chaînes.
Ah oui? Oh, fantastique. Merci beaucoup. Nous n'avons pas eu la chance de parler finalement. Je t'ai copié sur quelques...
Oui, ben j'ai pris tes copies.
OK.
Puis j'ai compris.
OK, parfait.
J'ai mis les 3 rooms.
Je pense pas qu'à la fin, je pense que CCAP TV n'a pas fait. Ils avaient l'intention de le faire. Elle me disait avant qu'elle voulait le faire dans le printemps, mais je pense qu'ils n'ont pas fait à la fin. Marie-Ève Robichaud de CCAP.
Oui, elle voulait faire où?
Je pense que c'est juste dans les banlieues de Québec, de la ville de Québec,
OK,
non?
oui. Ah, OK.
Oui.
Ah, ça se peut. Je sais pas.
So have you met Chantal, Victoria? Victoria Chantal. So she's from...
I saw your presentation just before.
Oh, good. Oh,
Yeah.
glad. Thank you. So,
Good
yeah,
presentation.
wonderful. Thanks.
She's with CSUR, a co-op community TV channel just outside Montreal in Vaudreuil-Soulanges.
Oh, really? Yeah. And so you're doing your presentation in French translation?
Yes, because I'm mostly French.
Okay, so I have my translator.
Yeah, I
here.
think it's
So
better.
This is good.
No,
yes.
it's good. Les francophones apprécieraient ça, je pense.
It's too hard to me to
Oui, oui.
Yeah.
present in English.
No,
I
no.
can imagine I couldn't
But
present
after,
in
if you have
French, so.
questions, you can ask in English. I can
Okay,
try.
Yeah.
I can
yeah.
try.
Do you need a translator for you? You got it?
Got mine there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Parce qu'il y a because there's some presenters, quelques membres du Québec qui ne pouvaient pas venir. Alors, il y a moins de pourcentage francophone qu'on voulait.
Bon, ben, je vais parler français.
Oui, oui.
C'est bon. I understand very well English, but
Yeah. So Kathy, I'm just reviewing with you what you said in your email, and the
Yep.
point is that not everybody is online, so there has to be multiple platforms for people to experience content, not just online, but also TV, radio, other type things.
Yeah, just that everybody's starting to do it. You want to reach
Yeah.
your whole community because
Yeah.
people access media now in different ways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that got me thinking too. I brought our 3 books there.
Oh, great.
Fridge Magnet, because on podcasts, what we do, I'll go over this late, but anyway, we also make our content available for radio stations, for example, and we also publish books, we have newsletters, and we do fridge magnets. That's not
Oh,
online. That was really stretching, you know.
And so,
when you said podcast, you said that web diffusion or direct web diffusion?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
That's
what
the
it-
word
yeah, or,
to explain.
Balado-diffusion, is that what it's called in French?
It's more like you have a CD of music with you, and it's not really. It's web diffusion.
Yeah, and it's interesting because in English,
No, balado diffusion, don't use this. It's not really. I understand, but it's not a proper.
yeah, it's funny because here it really drives me crazy sometimes because it's like people use podcasts for anything you can hear on the internet, and it's really podcasting is a very different
Yeah, but
thing.
podcast is direct.
Yeah.
It's live.
Yeah.
It's live. Okay, it's
Well, it's like podcast.
yeah, I've never quite understood how it's different than a stream.
Do you know what?
it's the same thing.
Yeah,
Except,
well,
no?
the thing is, yeah, I mean, we could talk about this later, but it's like the term is very imprecise. And when people say to me, you do podcasts, it means, oh, you do you do audio content for the internet. So really, I mean, technically a podcast is delivered by an RSS feed through something like
Okay.
iTunes, and it arrives
And it's short, it's long,
automatically
it's,
on your
It
phone.
arrives on time, like suddenly it'll start
Yeah,
playing
it's
at
like-
3 o'clock.
Okay,
Well,
it's
no,
online.
You
It's a
have
stream
to go
online.
and you decide when you want to listen to it, but it's automatic delivery. That's technically what a podcast is, but really it's become in English anyway to refer to anything. you
Hey,
listen
Sid.
to on the internet.
Hey, can you hear me?
Sure can. Listen, unless you would like a different order, we thought so you don't have to stay online forever waiting to get to questions. There's 3 speakers. We could have you go third, and then there'll be questions right after, and you wouldn't necessarily have to be waiting for ages for other speakers if you want.
No, I can hang here. It's going to be less than an hour, isn't it?
There's an hour and a half allotted, but there's only 3 of you. Some of the panels have had 5, so it probably won't take the whole time. It depends how
Hour and a
many
half,
questions
well.
you get.
Yeah, I'll just hang on if it's okay.
Okay, so Victoria Fenner from Rabble is going to moderate and go first
Okay.
and talk about podcasting and online media. And Chantal Bedard from CSUR and Vaudreuil-Soulanges is here. You're going to talk about different cable networks and broadcasting from the street et autres plateformes aussi,
The live
social media.
Yeah, social media
Okay.
and podcast and live
Okay, vous
stream
faites tout
and,
ça.
and traditional
Okay.
diffusion and all we can mix all of that.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Est-ce que tu as amené ton TriCast finalement? Tu avais l'idée de
J'ai tout
diffuser
amené.
d'ici? Est-ce que tu vas diffuser de la salle aujourd'hui?
Non, parce que c'était comme pas
nécessaire.
vous le faisiez.
Oui, oui, ok. Mais j'ai pas su. Je savais que c'était pas
J'avais
du temps.
amené.
Ok.
Si vous l'avez eu besoin, je l'ai
Okay.
installé, mais
Okay,
finalement,
got
tout
it.
était finally we don't need.
So he doesn't mind resting online. So si tu veux aller en deuxième, si tu veux rester à la fin, ça nous est égal.
En deuxième.
I'll be
Okay.
able to hear, won't I?
So
Will I be able to hear?
are you able to watch online? It should be on.
I couldn't get online.
You can't get
I
on.
couldn't pick it up online. When I hit that, click this button thing, it didn't happen for me.
Okay, Rabble.ca
Oh.
is virtual, so we're across the country.
Well, try
So-
typing in the web address is www.commediaconverge.ca.
It's about 2 hours by commuter train.
www.com, C-O-M?
Yeah, .com, C-O-M,
It's a small,
media, M-E-D-I-A,
I got that, node contact.
yeah.
converge, C-O-N-V-E-R-G-E,
I'm there.
.ca, okay, and then you do / conference 1.
This summer, so that's why I'm.
Conference 1.
Yeah.
Okay, let me check that out.
Well, we have, about 12.
O-N-E or number 1?
with Rabble.ca.
The number 1.
Oh, of the size.
So just be a minute, the speakers are all ready to go pretty much.
Yeah, so it's a small city, it's a small Ontario city.
Can you
Conference 1.
More
Yep.
into a bedroom community,
Okay, I'm going there.
so.
I've got, oops, this link appears to be broken.
I'll ask them.
Quite sure how the
So what I'll do is,
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. My fault.
technical guy is actually.
I'll try it again. I have a typo.
So he is. Oh, for the podcast,
you got us?
it's
Uh,
integrated with
No, it's not coming
our
up.
website, and so I don't know
I'll go check.
technically. They all live on our own
Yeah.
server.
So
Hey,
Sid,
LJ.
I'm gonna go check. I'm gonna shrink you out. We're gonna start the panel, okay? We'll check back. You'll be third.
Okay. Hey, I'm just getting ready for a national online presentation here. So, can I talk to you in about an hour and a half or two? Okay.
Don't know, I don't know.
There.
Okay. I'll call you back. Okay. Bye.
Okay,
So Sid is there. I've just muted him, although he doesn't seem to be muted.
okay, so
Okay.
if you could.
I'm not hearing anything.
I lost my program,
Oh.
that's because you're muted, right?
Because we just muted you. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, I understand now.
I've still got, oops, the link is,
I'm gonna go check it out, and we're handing it over to Victoria.
I don't have my program book here, so anyway, if I don't have the names, so yeah. Okay, if you could write your name.
Yep.
That's good.
Do you have a piece of paper, or I could stick it on a corner of this? Here you go. And Sid Tan, do you know the W2 Cafe?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Are they're not still going though?
Well, it's funny. I got a message from Erwin Oostindie of W2 wanted to interview me the other day, so you can ask Sid about that.
Okay,
But it's a
sure,
good
yeah.
example of, I don't know, did they bite off more than they could chew? You know, what happened with that? They were doing a lot.
I talk about that.
Okay, and so are you muted right now, Sid, or you can hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, that's good. So we'll just leave it on, and I'm not going to hit any buttons here, and hopefully then. But I can't see you on the screen, so how do
I can see you.
Oh, down at the bottom. Okay, so just click down here. No. Oh, the top corner. Yeah, I don't use Skype a lot, as you can see. Okay, the top corner. Why are you not getting any larger here? The icon, the Skype icon. There we go. Okay, good. I use Skype a little bit, but not an awful lot because I don't like the audio quality, and I always like to do interviews with people in person. I just did I just downloaded a
Jester.
Skype recorder so that I could, because with Rabble.ca, it's like we don't always have the luxury of being able to hop and go.
Remember, I don't have internet.
It's
I'm at
what?
a friend's place. This is what we got.
Okay.
No. See, if I go this way, there's another one. You know what I mean? So that's all I can do, man. Okay. Yeah, I know.
Or I can ask him to go first. That's what I'll do. Okay, so Sid, you're talking on your phone? Is that
Somebody phoned me to tell me
yeah.
that I should mute. They said I look like
Oh.
hell. I
Oh,
should mute the left side, and
just
I should.
ignore them. We all look like hell. It's been a long couple of days. So there you go. Well, no. Apologies
This
to
is
the people
Jeff
who don't
Scott.
look like hell or don't identify as such.
Jeff
So,
Scott.
okay, so then you're
I'm just
fine.
going to turn my phone off.
Okay, good. Okay, so we have you on Skype. Why don't we go with you first, so that then, do you want to stay for the whole session, as long as there's no
I
technical
will stay for the whole session.
Okay, good. So
So
then,
you can put me in anytime. Let me turn my phone off.
okay.
So I got it that I'm not looking good.
I like your hat.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
And
we're going to get
oh,
going, I
not
think,
my
in
hat
about.
because of a bad hair
Oh,
day.
you look beautiful. You look fine. So,
Actually, that looks kind of punky, kind of, what a guy. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
okay. Well, tell you what, it is now 3:46, and we were supposed to get going at 3:30, right? Okay, so with no more hesitation, then I will say hello. It's nice to be here, and my name is Victoria Fenner. I'm the executive producer of the Rabble Podcast Network, which is a part of rabble.ca. And hands up if your brains are totally full right now. Yeah, I think so too. So just give your head a shake. That helps. Okay. Okay, everybody's giving their head a shake now. Brains are clear. Okay, so the name of this session is what's yeah. So multi-platform distribution. In my head, giving my head a shake really didn't help. So the purpose of this panel is to talk about the different kinds of platforms that we are all using to get the information out, with the specific kind of understanding that I think with the internet being all over the place, or for those of us who do have access to the internet, there's a perception that we are all online and we're all moving our content over there and everything, but that's not, in fact, the reality. I was very, very surprised to find out. I live in Barrie, Ontario, which is about an hour and a half north of Toronto, and I was surprised to find out that something like 70% of the people who live in Simcoe County, where Barrie is located, has dial-up access. I was like, yeah, exactly, what is that? So, it's like it really gave me pause for thought, because I had assumed that at least there's ExploreNet, which here is like satellite internet service, but that's also a lot more expensive than cable distributed, internet. And so anyway, so I think the whole assumption that we are all able to access everything on the internet, and so it's time to transition everything over, is something which is a questionable concept, I think. So that's what we're here to talk about today, is how do we get our content out there in different ways? How do we use multiple platforms to reach the broadest part of our communities as possible, those with internet and those without internet as well? So joining me on this panel is Chantal Bedard from CSUR, and also Sid Tan up on the screen there. So anyway, I think since it's the end of the day, we can be really, really informal about this. And, if we maybe take 5 to 8 minutes a piece or so and talk about it, and then just open it up as a general discussion, I think that would be a really good way to go, since it is a fairly small panel here. So Sid, W2, Vancouver. What I remember about that is being in Vancouver in the 1980s, and the building that W2 is in, or was in, I need some clarification on that, was the old Woodwards building. Am I thinking about the right place?
You are indeed.
Yeah, it was like one of the primo department stores in all of Vancouver. And so when I found out that it was not going to be a department store anymore, I was really, really happy to see that it was being repositioned and reversioned into something even better than a department store. So there's been a lot of history since the building was renovated and then W2 moved in. So Sid, if you can just give us some background on W2 and just how you get out, what your thoughts are on community information and reaching the widest possible audience. So over to you.
Yeah, I have to apologize. I had set up for about a 12-minute presentation.
Oh, go ahead. We have lots
Okay.
of time, so take it. Yeah.
Okay. First, I'd like to acknowledge this community media convergence is held within the historic Algonquin territory. That is part of the current treaty negotiations with the federal and provincial crowns. I acknowledge this presentation originates from the unceded territory of the Coast Salish people. Not an expert on multi-platform distribution, I am, however, a practitioner informed by over 3 decades of media practice. In the early 80s, I was co-publisher of an English-Chinese language newspaper, the Chinese Canadian Bulletin. This was a commercial endeavor in advertising, which supported the publication's editorial content. We became profitable with print side projects, primarily a guide to Chinatown to serve the visitors of Expo 86 World's Fair. After the fair, I was approached by a volunteer producer of Chinatown Today, a regularly scheduled community program on Rogers Cable Community Channel. He introduced me to Deborah Angrave, the Rogers program coordinator, who over the years trained and mentored me in television production. It is thanks to her I'm making this presentation. I would also like to thank Kathy Edwards and her team at Cactus for organizing the community media convergence. Also not an expert on the theory and history of media, I've come to realize that each one of us is a medium. Each individual can be called a prime medium. We observe our surroundings, people, and events and interpret it and articulate our findings in words, music, art, and a variety of other ways. Literally, 2 individuals in discussion are engaged in media production. Prior to mass print technology and widespread literacy, face-to-face meetings and a gathering of people literally produced media. Often the results of such meetings and gatherings were reported to illiterate masses via town criers, street performances, and community meetings. This illustrates the relationship of media production and distribution. The oral tradition, combined with print technology and literacy, begat the production and distribution of pamphlets, books, newspapers, music scores, and scripts. Thus began the age of media distribution as we know it. Advances in technology, especially electricity and digital, bring us into a world of radio, films, television, internet, and so-called new media. It is still the individual as a medium or a group of individuals as media who produce the message. The message provides the content to be distributed. This distribution is called cross or multi-platform today. It is in this context of distinguishing media production and distribution that my presentation hopes to clarify with personal experience, practice, and bits of knowledge gleaned. I would say building mutually beneficial relationships is central to media production and distribution. Indeed, building lasting mutual beneficial relationships is the key to success in life. The individual prime medium and 2 or more as media are the sources of our stories and content. From this, our creations to be distributed in appropriate venues of traditional and new media. It should not be surprising that building relationships makes the sourcing of content and distribution more effective. This is the very human side of successful media production and distribution. It is also not surprising to realize my introduction to community television occurred because I published a community newspaper. The volunteer producer of Chinatown Today understood I had information and insight into the Chinese Canadian community, which 30 years ago was changing dramatically. The influx of immigrants from Hong Kong in anticipation of the return of the British colony to the People's Republic of China became a demographic sought. Chinatown Today capitalized on this and provided community television content, initially from the Chinese Canadian Bulletin. Later, the cast and crew had 3 Chinese language dailies and several radio and television programs and stations to source content from. It's not surprising also that the publication of Fearless magazine under the brand of Fearless City Media was instrumental in what was become W2 Community Media Arts Center. The then collective also developed a project using cell phone media production and distribution in 2006 and subsequently produced radio and television programs which were distributed via its internet website and various social media platforms. Most remarkably, and seemingly in tribute to the Prime Media concept, a main source of funding became the late-night dance parties, which galvanized the partiers into volunteers and supporters of the Community Media Center. W2 Media Arts Center came about because developers were given increased height and relaxed use restrictions in return for a community amenity contribution. A media center was chosen by representatives of the downtown East Side residents, often portrayed as having the lowest per capita income postal code in Canada. The low-income and marginalized community wanted to amplify their voices via media production and distribution in the wake of the coming 2010 Winter Olympics. A media center for independent journalists to be opened in the space faced delay after delay. Of course, the community amenity contribution space didn't become available until after the Olympics. Moving in, W2 was a success in every way except financial. When it was seemingly turning the corner, the city of Vancouver called for a payment of $85,000 amenity fee for what was the community amenity. There was much protest, but it was the end for W2 in the space. W2 is still operating in rented space in the downtown East Side. Its ongoing legacy include Media Mornings, a daily current affairs radio program on CFRO Co-op Radio 100.5 FM. Its Best of the Week broadcast under Democracy North, syndicated to campus and community stations, and VIMAF, Vancouver Indigenous Media Arts Festival, with its 4th year coming in May 2016. As of today, 2 years of the lockout of W2 Media Art, the space is still mainly empty, though a consortium of community groups has been chosen to occupy it soon. Note that $170,000 of community amenity fees have not been collected in this period. I say W2 Media Center, as a community amenity contribution, was set up to be a political failure. It's appropriate to congratulate Kokoro Dance Company, the International Dance Festival, Raven Spirit Dance, and Vancouver Moving Theatre Downtown East Side Heart of the City Festival on a successful proposal to move in shortly. I sent a support letter for the consortium to the City of Vancouver, and I'm currently Skyping from the home of Terry Hunter, the artistic producer of the Heart of the City Festival located in the downtown East Side. It just recently celebrated its 12th year. To me, multi-platform distribution is simply the amplification of media production. Currently, we produce Access Community Television, a regularly scheduled program on Shaw Cable Community Channel, which shamelessly promotes our friends and communities. The work is done with a core group of 15 volunteers who in turn bring in more volunteers to assist studio and field segments. Access also incubates Carnegie TV, which started in April of this year, supported by a grant to the Carnegie Community Center, often referred to as the living room of the downtown East Side. The grant is from the Federal New Horizons Seniors Program. Again, not surprisingly, a main source of our content and distribution is the print Carnegie newsletter, a free and widely read publication in the downtown East Side. Carnegie TV is about the news and views, people and places of the downtown East Side residents. To my knowledge, it is the first regularly scheduled community television program in Metro Vancouver originating from a community center. Arguably, it could be a first for Canada. This is a start for what I believe should be a turning point in existing public infrastructures, such as libraries and community centers and neighborhood houses, hosting media centers. Literally, such institutions are media centers already, as it is where people go to meet other people and are venues for public meetings. A layer of volunteers, equipment, and training would make media production and distribution a reality in community centers, libraries, and neighborhood houses. It is noted that the Vancouver Public Library has recently unveiled its Inspiration Lab so that the public can access the higher level technology of media production. I believe that politicians and social planners are recognizing the empowering nature of community media production for the public and common good in our society and democracy. May it become a trend. It is serendipitous that my work in social justice has been greatly enhanced by my participation in community television, because Chinatown Today recorded many events beginning in the 80s for redress of the Chinese head tax and exclusion. There is an archive of the struggle in Metro Vancouver. This archive has provided media for several documentary films and excerpts and B-roll for many television interviews for community, public, and commercial television. It's a warm feeling to know that others can build from your work. Community television production is built from a solid foundation of policy and practice. It can now be amplified by distribution on social media and multi-platforms of traditional and new media. With YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, websites, and podcasts, the need for a cable community channel becomes clear as production and distribution can be achieved by individuals and as teams. At the heart of community television is training and equipment and facilities mandated by the existence of the community element of the Canadian broadcasting system. I believe the soul of community television is in people coming together to work as a team for the benefit of their community. So, my friends, build relations, follow your passion, and long live community television and multi-form distribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sid. And you raised a number of points, which just a few things tweaked for me. And before getting involved in online media, like Rabble.ca is a virtual website and also a virtual office. We have people who live and work in different communities in Canada. And the thing is, our meetings either are held online through online communication platforms like Slack, which is kind of like a Facebook, but for a smaller group of people and for work groups. And then we also have conference calls over the phone several times a week as well. And while that is a really satisfying model, I think back to my work in community radio. I've been involved in community radio since like the late 70s. Vancouver Co-op Radio is like my spiritual home in many, many ways. And so Sid, it was really, really great to connect with you, because I think that Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO, has really, really been legendary in terms of developing community media in Canada. And one thing that, as I reflect on the online experience, and I think that I'm looking at the software which one of the vendors out in the media marketplace has, and what it is for a radio station where people can do their radio shows at home and they upload them and it's scheduled, and could be a community radio station where people never meet. And in some ways, like, I was working down in the mountains of Kentucky for 2 years, which was a fabulous experience at a community radio station. That would have been very useful down there, because time and distance prevented people sometimes from coming long distances, because there was a lot of poverty and paying for gas was really difficult, and long travel times were difficult, especially in the middle of winter. So while that would be a useful model sometimes for that, I would never want to see a total replacement of the community media center model. And I think that when I was working in community radio, there's just so much dynamism that was created. Just when a person comes in to do their show and there's someone else leaving, and even if people aren't doing their shows together, it's like that, oh, hi, how are you doing? And what are you working on today? Or even just talking about the weather. There is something about connecting the community that happens when people are in the same space. So what I really love, I'm really sorry to hear that the Community Media Center model at W2 was not able to happen, because I've often thought that what would be wonderful is if we had a radio station and the capabilities of doing television and websites, and even if we don't have a transmitter, to all come together in a community center so we can all learn together in production groups. And so that's one of the things that I think is really good. We do that with Rabble. We do have production groups where, I mean, I'd like to do a lot more training and working with the podcasters who submit to Rabble, just so we could have little workshops, and it would have to be in virtual space, but because we're across the country. But I love the idea too, and what I would like to work towards with Rabble is a media training camp where we actually get together for a week and do things collaboratively and make programs together, and not just in podcasting and audio, but also for other parts of the site as well. So I think that there is great value in communities coming together. Further to that, with Rabble, I was thinking, okay, what do we do that is multi-platform? We have different platforms on the internet. We have Rabble TV. We have a whole bunch of stuff, but it all takes place online. So I'll just show you a couple of things that we do that does qualify as multi-platform. Hang on. So first of all are our special events. We try to do special events in whatever communities we can. It usually ends up being Vancouver and Toronto because that's where most of our staff are. But we find we just did the 10th anniversary of the Rabble Podcast Network in September, for example, and people came out, and to be able to talk to people face to face adds a whole extra dimension. So we do special events. Last year we came up to the People's Social Forum in Ottawa and we live streamed some of the presentations, and we were there meeting and greeting people, and I don't think there's any substitution for the face-to-face. It's rather, it's hard to be all places at all times, but it's something that we try to do. The other things we do are, we do publications. These are several of our publications, the Best of Rabble 2015, and this is some of our favorite pieces of writing that we've done on Rabble in 2015. So there's an awful lot that doesn't make it in here, but we do these kinds of books, we sell them, and our parliamentary correspondent, Carl Narenberg, who works on the Hill reporting for us, this is the best of, some of our favorites anyway, the things that he has done. So these are all for sale out on the Rabble table, so that's one thing that we do. And other than that, we also do newsletters which are posted online where they can be printed out and distributed to people, at rallies, at meetings, that kind of thing. So we are cognizant that not everyone has internet, although we are very much an internet-based service. And that's the core of what we do, I would say about 90%. But we do understand the face-to-face non-virtual reality, non-virtual world is very important. The other thing is the Rabble podcasts on the Rabble Podcast Network. Community radio stations are welcome and encouraged to download our programs and run them on the air, and a lot of stations do that. We also have podcasters who distribute their podcasts separately to stations. So we have, we go into the world of terrestrial broadcasting as well. So that's what we do at Rabble. And so now, what I would like to do, would you like to come up and introduce yourself and talk about your part of the world in multi-platform distribution? Okay, Chantal Bedard.
Bonjour, je vous propose de prendre quelques minutes pour vous mettre votre traducteur anglais parce que je vais parler en français. Je vais quand même juste activer mon petit PowerPoint. Donc, c'est sur la télévision communautaire Community TV de Vaudreuil-Soulanges, qui est située à l'ouest de Montréal, à cheval avec l'Ontario et les États-Unis. Ce qu'on a de particulier, c'est qu'on est quand même une télévision bilingue. Donc, 60% francophone, 40% anglophone. Donc, nos émissions sont bilingues. Je ne parle pas de traduction anglais-français, c'est tout mélangé. Un petit peu d'anglais, un petit peu de français, on mélange tout ça, puis ça fait quelque chose qui est tout à fait à l'image du territoire, de la région où est-ce qu'on est. Ma région en direct, my island of air, j'ai mis mes notes dans le PowerPoint, comme ça pour ceux qui savent lire en français, ça peut être intéressant, mais oui, c'est en français. Donc, comme je vous disais, on est une jeune télévision. On a été fondé en 2010. Donc, c'est assez nouveau. On a fait le pari d'être tout d'abord sur Internet, un peu comme une web télé communautaire, avant d'être sur des câbleaux traditionnels. Notre objectif était d'atteindre le plus de monde possible sur le plus de plateformes possible. Donc, pas seulement dire, OK, on est juste sur le câble, on est juste sur Internet. Non, non, on est partout, puis on s'adapte au public. Les jeunes consomment moins la télévision traditionnelle, les plus vieux l'en consomment encore, et ça change et ça bouge. Fait qu'on a décidé d'être partout pour rejoindre le plus de monde possible sur notre territoire. Nos gros défis, bien sûr, comme je n'ai pas besoin de passer beaucoup de temps là-dessus parce que c'est sûrement le problème de tous. On a bien sûr peu de financement, un énorme territoire. On parle de 23 villes, 23 maires, 23 politiques différentes. On n'a pas de baie-diffusion. On a plusieurs câbleaux distributeurs sur le territoire. Fait que le défi était de taille, mais on l'a fait quand même. Donc, comme je disais tout d'abord, on a dit on va être sur le web, puis on va viser les télévisions intelligentes. Donc, c'est peut-être je ne sais pas comment le dire en anglais, le mot télévision intelligente. Vous trouverez la traduction à quelque part, mais la télévision intelligente, c'est les télévisions sur le web. Donc, les gens n'écoutent pas seulement la télé sur Internet ou seulement assis devant l'ordinateur ou sur leur iPhone. Ils l'écoutent aussi à la maison, assis sur leur divan. C'est des télévisions branchées sur Internet. Il y a beaucoup de gens qui investissent dans les Apple TV AirPlay qu'on appelle. Il n'y a pas seulement Apple, il y a aussi le Roku. Il y a d'autres systèmes, là, c'est les deux les principaux. Et cette méthode de consommation est directement... c'est les gens qui consomment Netflix, c'est les gens qui consomment, tout dépendant de ce que vous écoutez. Là, moi, j'aime le documentaire, je vais aller sur les applications de l'ONF ou tout ça. Fait qu'une des propositions, puis vous viendrez me voir après, ceux qui ont le goût, puis j'essaierai de l'expliquer en anglais. Moi, j'aimerais proposer de mettre en place une espèce de Netflix communautaire canadien. Je pense que c'est un besoin qui devrait être fait immédiatement. Puis ça devrait être accessible à tout média communautaire. C'est une des solutions que j'aimerais proposer pour justement que la communication coast-to-coast, nord-sud, territoire de toutes les provinces puisse communiquer puis partager l'identité régionale qui est propre, qui fait la diversité du Canada. Puis nous, on a un petit peu commencé justement en étant sur le web. Bon, on est aussi sur les câbleaux traditionnels, on en a 2, ils nous diffusent, ils ne donnent pas d'argent, c'est compliqué, on le fait pareil, ils sont HD, SD... toutes les façons possibles. On s'adapte à eux tout le temps. On downgrade notre qualité pour eux. C'est pas grave. On continue de suivre ce modèle-là parce qu'il y a encore quand même pas mal de personnes qui consomment ça. Mais pour tous les autres, on est en web télé. Nous, on a aussi misé, parce que bien sûr, le financement, on a essayé de s'autofinancer. On a mis en place des systèmes de web diffusion, podcasts, quel que soit le terme, là, live stream, podcast, YouTube, c'est toute la même chose. C'est juste des mots différents pour dire qu'on capte en direct des événements puis on les stream sur Internet. On investit dans une petite régie portative qu'on se promène un peu partout. Aussitôt qu'on a une connexion Internet, on la branche, on met 1, 2, 3 caméras et on filme, puis c'est en direct sur notre site Web. On le capte dans notre petit disque dur, puis après ça, on peut faire des beaux différés, haute qualité pour les câbleaux traditionnels. On fait plein d'événements en direct, des games de hockey, des débats électoraux, on vient d'en passer plein, là. On vient de passer les élections qui étaient assez intenses. On a organisé des débats électoraux, des assemblées générales, des conférences, des concerts, des spectacles. Il y en a qu'on demande d'être payés parce que ça devient un service qu'on offre, pas seulement au milieu communautaire, mais aussi à des entreprises privées qui voudraient peut-être avoir des conférences en ligne, des docteurs. Ça peut être très, très général. Donc, c'est une façon qu'on a trouvée pour financer après les productions. Au niveau de la web diffusion, on a intégré ça directement dans le site web. On n'a pas d'argent, donc on a pris tout ce qui existait, qui est gratuit, YouTube, Livestream, Ustream, Justin TV, on les a tous intégré, puis on a intégré ça dans notre site web. On n'avait pas beaucoup d'argent, on ne pouvait pas payer un programmeur qui va développer une librairie complexe. Alors, on a pris tout ce qui existait, puis on a vraiment utilisé cette façon de faire-là. C'est intégré dans nos sites web, puis c'est avec ça qu'on stream gratuitement. Bon, il y a des publicités qui apparaissent une fois de temps en temps, c'est plate. Quand on aura plus d'argent, bien, on enlèvera les publicités, on paiera le montant de plus. Mais ça, c'est le mieux qu'on peut offrir pour le moment dans les conditions qu'on a. Et bien sûr, on s'est accaparé des réseaux sociaux. Attendez pas. Commencez tout de suite à prendre contrôle des réseaux sociaux de votre télé. C'est la façon que les gens vont venir vous voir. On est YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Wikipédia, Google+, il y en a peut-être d'autres que j'oublie. À chaque fois qu'on met une émission en ondes, on la réseaute là. On dit « allez voir ça, allez voir ça, allez voir ça ». On a des émissions courtes, pour ceux qui ne veulent pas rester longtemps. Puis on a des émissions longues, de 30 minutes, 1 heure. Il y en a qui écoutent un petit bout, ils ne l'écoutent pas au complet, ils reviennent. Quand c'est un événement en direct, on va peut-être avoir un débat électoral. C'est sûr que c'est un peu plus... les gens veulent s'informer, on va avoir plus de personnes. Mais des fois, un concert, je vais peut-être avoir comme 50 personnes en même temps qui vont aller le voir parce que ça donne que c'est quelqu'un qui connaît, qui est sur scène. Mais ils vont revenir après, puis ils vont revenir. Fait qu'il y a une pérennité qui se crée avec les réseaux sociaux. Puis ça implique du temps, mais ça ne coûte rien. Fait que c'est quelque chose que vous devriez vraiment prendre en considération, là, d'attaquer les réseaux sociaux. Ce n'est pas si compliqué que ça. Il faut juste avoir un petit peu de temps, puis faites des essais-erreurs, tout le monde va vous le pardonner. Puis, en plus, ça va mousser les initiatives citoyennes. Les gens vont se reconnaître. Puis, le sentiment de communauté va être encore plus fort. Notre prochaine étape qu'on va faire, qui est notre premier saut, bien sûr, c'est avoir des apps, des applications, des apps, que les gens peuvent aller avec leur iPhone, cliquer sur « App », ça ouvre directement les émissions. Ça devrait être le prochain saut qu'on va faire dans au cours de l'année. Si je passe à l'autre page. Donc, bien sûr, le défi, c'est réussir à transformer tous les spectateurs d'un territoire passif en spectateurs actifs de leur télévision communautaire. On le dit dans plusieurs autres panels, puis c'est ça qui est le gros défi. Puis nous, on a fait notre priorité, ça. Bien sûr, il faut s'enlever de la tête qu'une télévision communautaire se comptabilise par code d'écoute. Oubliez ça, là. Si quelqu'un vous pose la question, c'est qu'il n'a rien compris à c'est quoi la mission, le rôle et à quoi ça sert une télévision communautaire. On va plutôt comptabiliser par niche, des secteurs ou un public cible. Si j'ai une émission sur la soirée folklorique, je n'aurai pas des 15 ans qui vont venir, peut-être 1 ou 2, mais je n'aurai pas ce public-là qui va aller le voir. Mais je vais peut-être avoir des personnes plus âgées, de 60 ans et plus, qui vont être vraiment intéressées à les voir en train de danser. Si ça comble un besoin, notre mission est réussie. Si on fait une émission plus jeunesse de skateboard, on organise un skate fest à Pincourt, les jeunes font des compétitions de skate, on filme ça, on prend des iPhones, c'est un petit peu tout croche, mais on met de la bonne musique avec ça. Je vais avoir des codes d'écoute, les jeunes vont le voir, ils vont se le réseauter, ils vont se le partager. Donc, toutes les personnes vont devenir des ambassadeurs après du contenu puis le partager. On a une émission de sport. Bon, le sport, ce n'est pas tout le monde que ça intéresse. On a impliqué des écoles. On a dit, venez filmer. Venez filmer. C'est des écoles des gens qui veulent apprendre ou maîtriser à manipuler des caméras. C'est une game de hockey, il y a de l'action, ça crie, des petites batailles. Je vais chercher un public peut-être un peu plus jeune. Mais là, je me rends compte que les gens qui écoutent les games de hockey, c'est pas juste le monde de la région, parce que le hockey, c'est national. C'est pas juste le sport du Québec, le hockey, c'est aussi un sport national. C'est la deuxième religion du Canada, j'en suis certaine. Fait que là, il y a des gens qui nous regardent comme les Britanniques, des maritimes, des gens outre-mer. Fait qu'on se retrouve avec des codes d'écoute qu'on comptabilise sur Internet assez impressionnantes pour une petite télévision communautaire d'une région de 155 000 habitants. On compétitionne avec des télés publiques qui sont même plus capables de diffuser le hockey. En français, là. En anglais, ça se fait encore, mais en français. Donc, le monde sont contents. On a des commentateurs amateurs qui connaissent rien puis qui viennent apprendre à faire ça. Ils font des petites erreurs, mais le monde, ça ne leur dérange pas parce qu'ils se retrouvent là-dedans. Ça devient la télé du peuple, la télé pour monsieur tout le monde, puis les gens se reconnaissent là-dedans. Puis l'erreur est pardonnée parce qu'ils font partie intégrante de la production. Voilà. Fait qu'encore une fois, les réseaux sociaux, c'est la clé du succès pour rendre la télévision communautaire populaire. Et le résultat de ça, c'est qu'une télévision communautaire, au-delà de partager la culture, l'identité, les informations locales, ça devient un laboratoire technologique hors pair. Les écoles, ils ont besoin de ça. Les universités, ils ont besoin de ça. Aller faire un stage à Radio-Canada, à CBC, c'est très difficile, c'est très sélectif. Ils vont prendre 10 personnes un peu partout, c'est tout. Aller faire un stage à la télévision communautaire, c'est la vraie vie. Puis après ça, ça leur donne une expérience incroyable. Puis c'est les premiers qui vont se trouver une job après dans des grosses entreprises. Je vais les perdre, bien sûr, parce qu'il y a un renouvellement toujours, mais ça fait partie d'une des missions qu'on se donne. Puis puis c'est leurs idées qui est un peu le moteur, lui, la moteur de la télévision communautaire. Fait que là, je vous ai fait un petit montage d'images. La télévision communautaire, bien sûr, on diffuse de l'information. Donc, le bulletin de nouvelles, de qu'est-ce qui se passe, l'actualité. Il y a eu un camion de blé d'Inde qui a renversé. On va aller chercher ces informations-là. On va diffuser des documentaires. Il y a des gens qui viennent nous voir puis qui disent, ben les télévisions traditionnelles, ils n'ont pas d'argent, ils ne vont pas acquérir nos documentaires. Pourquoi pas? On va vous le diffuser, votre documentaire. Bon, bien sûr, on n'a pas nécessairement l'argent pour le financer, mais on leur offre la plateforme de diffusion. C'est une vraie télé, là. Donc, ils vont pouvoir l'écouter. Puis, bien sûr, c'est sur Internet, fait qu'il n'y a plus de limite de diffusion. Il y a beaucoup d'étudiants qui font des web-séries. C'est des petites émissions fictives. C'est pas de l'information, c'est du créatif. Ça peut être très intéressant. Des courts-métrages, on fait des courts-métrages, on se lance, on fait beaucoup de sport, des débats politiques et bien sûr la web-diffusion d'événements, les conseils de ville, les games de hockey, voyez, et bien sûr, tout est accessible sur votre mobile. Vous pouvez écouter en tout temps si jamais vous n'avez pas la chance d'être assis dans votre divan en train d'écouter la télé à 6 heures, parce que c'est à 6 heures que ça joue. Non, non, non. Les gens ils veulent décider quand est-ce qu'ils écoutent la télé, quand est-ce qu'ils écoutent leur information, puis il ne faut pas négliger ça. C'est important. Et voilà. Si vous avez des questions, bien, je vous invite à venir me voir. Oui? Oui? Oui. Sure.
The people in online lands can hear you as well. Why don't you bring the mic stand in the middle here, and then people won't have to run way over to the side.
Alors, la question, c'était si vous avez mentionné vous utilisez YouTube, Ustream, plusieurs différentes plateformes. Je demandais pour un événement en direct.
Ça va être sur seulement un à la fois.
OK, vous choisissez un. Comment est-ce que vous
ça
choisissez
pourrait être
lequel?
plusieurs, là, mais les équipements qu'on a présentement, c'est un à la fois. Mais si on aurait 2 régies, on pourrait très, très bien aller sur un ou l'autre. Il n'y a pas de problème.
Alors, comment est-ce que vous décidez lequel que vous utilisez?
Mais si c'est un événement que c'est nous qui a mis en place, donc c'est un événement propriétaire à la télévision communautaire. Pour l'instant, on utilise beaucoup plus Ustream parce que c'est très, très simple, c'est user-friendly, c'est pas trop compliqué, c'est gratuit, ça va bien. Mais on a fait des débats électoraux en partenariat avec d'autres organismes. Eux, ils voulaient utiliser YouTube. Parfait, on s'est adapté. On a dit, OK, on va diffuser sur YouTube. Mais on a aussi testé Justin TV. On s'adapte tout dépendant de qu'est-ce que la personne elle a son compte, où est-ce qu'elle veut être diffusée. Puis nous, on va... je cherche le mot français, là. On va embedder dans notre site web, ensuite la fenêtre, puis c'est ça qui va être en ondes. Comme aujourd'hui, tout ce qui est diffusé, nous, on a pris les liens, puis on les a tous intégrés dans notre site web. Et donc, toutes les diffusions en direct sont accessibles pour tous les citoyens ou n'importe qui veut aller sur notre site web et voir en direct les 3 rooms présentement qui diffusent en direct les panels.
Est-ce que votre diffusion sur le câble, c'est 24 heures sur 24 heures ou bien sur le site web?
Non, ben, en fait...
c'est juste like one-off?
Non, pas du tout. Nous, présentement, on n'est pas un câbleau, donc on doit livrer notre matériel à chaque semaine à 2 différents câbleaux distributeurs qui sont sur le territoire. On parle de... Nous, c'est Cogeco et Vidéotron. Donc, on leur livre par FTP, les MPEG 2. Qu'eux vont intégrer dans leur B-diffusion et diffuser. On produit environ 2h30 de contenu original par semaine, plus des événements sporadiques, spéciaux, des petites web capsules, que ceux-là, on va plutôt mettre sur le web pour l'instant. Mais toutes nos émissions sont et câbleaux et web, sur les 2 plateformes.
Okay, just thought I'd jump in right here because I realized, we didn't give Sid a chance to answer questions from the floor, so if anyone would also like to come up and address a question to Sid, then you can address them to Chantal and Sid or me as well. So this is an open question period here for whoever you want to ask questions to. Here's another idea. I would really like to know from all of you what kind of methods you use, both online and offline, and what are some of the success stories from your organizations. Anybody want to jump in there?
Jeff Scott, Tri-Cities Community TV. Je comprends beaucoup que tu dis, mais mon conversational French. We recently purchased a TriCaster as well, and have used it both for streaming live online and as well just to cover events and produce programming, and quite happy with using that as our means of reaching out on both. In the past, really, we've just posted our videos to YouTube, and that's about it. But you know, the ability to stream live, and now we're looking forward to doing hockey fairly soon. We're not there yet, but we've done a couple of local community events, and as our volunteers improve with their camera work, that's probably the next step for us. And likewise, we're very happy with that device.
I think it's better if you look the camera.
Look at the camera, turn around, look at the
Because
camera. Okay,
actually
there we go. So my question is really for both the panelists, and that is, as you move to a multi-platform distribution with community-generated content, are there any concerns about digital rights management and where those rights remain after it's produced?
I can take that.
Yep. Can you hear us there?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. You're just thinking, right?
Yeah, I'm not so sure that it's a very big issue for us, because I think the whole idea behind digital rights is by and large a commercial use, and we don't really go after money with what we broadcast, in the sense that we don't profit from what we broadcast financially. And I think that people that will chase you after rights and copyright and stuff like that are basically there to make sure that you don't profit from their work. And by and large, I think as a courtesy, if you're going to broadcast, especially over cable, that you should inform whoever you're getting the media from, and ask them permission to do that. So that's something that I've been taught for a long time, even coming from the print area. If you use somebody's photo, you ask them to use it first.
Yeah, just further to that, at Rabble, we are very, very, very rigorous about making sure that anyone who is submitting content is the writer and the originator. We have contracts and agreements with our bloggers, with our podcasters, with our contributors. And in terms of the podcast network, then, we don't really do a lot of music right now, because music tends to be one of the real problematic areas where if you use a piece of music in radio, you're fine because they are covered by agreements already with both Resound, which is a performing rights organization, and also SOCAN. It's still really hazy with podcasting, so I don't know, even though SOCAN says, yes, pay us $100 and you can do it, and I haven't been able to reach Resound because they're not great at picking up their phones, then it's like it's still kind of hazy, because copyright board says, well, we're not going to really put a tariff on podcasts because nobody does podcasting. That's what they said in one of them. And I think that's going to change. And so I want to broadcast more music. With words, it doesn't really matter, because it's all interviews and it's all scripts, and the originators of the content are the owners of it. But anyway, it is an issue too if you send out your stuff to SoundCloud or YouTube or something like that and have music in it, because I've been told that there are now these bots that the music companies send trolling the internet to recognize phrases of music. And even if it's in another language, they will go, you're using our content, stop doing that. And there's a 3 strikes and you're out policy with YouTube and that kind of thing. And people say, well, yeah, but people post other people's music all the time on YouTube. But I think it's like those days are coming to an end as the technology evolves for music companies to police their stuff. So when we do use music, we like getting written permission from the originators of the song. They're people we know usually, or people who we know are friendly to our communities. When I do documentaries, which I do frequently, I approach local musicians and I pay them to do something customized for our site. And it's like, it sounds like a lot of hassle, but I think it's a lot more worthwhile and fulfilling because you get to know the people who are creating your content instead of just, lifting them from somewhere else. There are other places that are stock image sites, and freesound.org has sounds that you can use. There are places where you can go for music, which is inexpensive. And so as long as it's pod safe or the photos are cleared, it's under a Creative Content license or Creative Commons, yes, end of the day. Anyway, that's what but it is like digital rights management is really, really, really important. And in traditional broadcast, there have been agreements set up that we just sign and pay our money, not so much for the internet anymore. So that's a really good point. So does anyone else have a question or something they'd like to share about how you distribute your content to reach your community, however you define it?
Just to comment on that last point, at our radio station, in terms of people who maybe do music shows that they want to share online or set up a podcast for, we encourage them to use Mixcloud because Mixcloud pays the licensing agreements for artists. So they're committed to supporting artists, and they don't have the same takedown mechanisms as YouTube and SoundCloud because they've already got licensed agreements. And it's very easy to get a plugin to set up an RSS feed from Mixcloud that will connect that. So for radio hosts who are, they just want to podcast their radio show and keep the music intact that they might be using, it's a really good option for that.
Okay, good suggestion. So any other best practices, things you want to share? Sid, yeah.
Yeah, I should mention actually one of the things that we do, and I really enjoy very much, is that we broadcast our program. We don't broadcast our program. We actually put our program onto a computer and bring it into the Carnegie Community Center and play it. And we try and do it simultaneously when it's broadcasting, because many of the people that come down to the Carnegie Center, they don't have television, they don't have cable, they don't even have internet. And so this is the only way they can actually see the program, is just by old school playing it in front of a live audience, which is kind of, I find that kind of amusing actually, because the more things change, the more they remain the same.
I remember a story too that I did some traveling in Africa, and I was talking to women's radio groups about how they get their word out, and they were saying that in villages that don't have a radio transmitter, what they would do is get CDs, and they would play a CD in someone's living room, and they would have a listening group. So that's still radio in a sense, but it's like, it's really, it's people who are engaging with the content in a very real way. So thinking back to the days of, in the 1930s and 40s when people used to gather around the radio and it was actually an event. So there's an awful lot to be said for having live groups of people who come together and experience the radio together. And I'm thinking, Christiana, I was thinking about the Deep Wireless Festivals, and that there's an organization called New Adventures in Sound Art in Toronto that does festivals every year. And one of the things we used to do as part of their conference, Radio Without Boundaries, we used to gather in a room, and all we do is just sit there and listen all weekend. And it's this huge listening club that's really wonderful because you get to talk to people in real and live time. So I think it's kind of a reminder that even though the online world is wonderful and the listening privately in our own space has its advantages, there's really, really coming together as a community like real people face to face. I still think that is the most vital and dynamic way to experience content. So anybody else?
Also, production, coming together the same way you describe,
exactly.
Instead of listening to producing, is actually a heck of a lot more fun, and it's more rewarding. That's why you can be a filmmaker and have your own camera and work in your own silo and not talk to anyone except what you're recording. But to have to build a team and to do a studio production, that's challenging, and it's a lot more fun, and it's quite a bit social. I think we've had people that have fallen in love and gotten married through community television production.
And radio.
Yeah.
I was one of them. So, but Sid, that just makes me think that this is just so sad that W2 as the model didn't work out in the way that you wanted to. Is there any hope for taking that model and doing it some other way in Vancouver?
Yeah, we're doing that at the Carnegie Community Center. We have a director there who's going to retire soon, and I think part of her legacy is to create a media center at the Carnegie Community Center, a publicly funded infrastructure. And as I said, community centers, neighborhood houses, and libraries are going to cotton on to this because politicians and social planners are beginning to understand, the social and community building nature of media production as opposed to distribution.
And libraries already are. Like, I didn't get a chance to go to the session. How many of you went to the session of libraries and makers markets and things like that just a couple of doors down a couple of hours ago? It's fabulous. Do you want to just give a little bit of a description of what it is they're doing and what that model's about for those of you who weren't able to make it?
Sure, I was able to attend that one and was just fascinated because actually before coming to Ottawa, I've made overture to the Coquitlam Library, which, like many libraries now, is kind of getting involved in those creative places. They already have a 3D printer, which seems to be top of the line for a lot of these kind of groups. But I was very impressed with the gentleman that we're talking about. I guess one from the States who their library actually has a media center. They've kind of melded with a community access TV group, so they're right in the library. And the other gentleman, well, they haven't melded with a group, but they're investing in computers and editing software and more or less starting their own community access TV organization through the library. And this was very encouraging to me because when I approached the Coquitlam Library, they seemed a little apprehensive but interested, and they were going to take it to their board and get back to me. And I'm very much looking forward to sending them the link to that video once it's posted. And anybody who's kind of interested in that stuff, that's just a quick synopsis from me. I'd suggest checking out online later when it's posted.
And that is a really, really good idea, too, for communities where if you're thinking that maybe a community media center model might be right for your community, then talking to your library might be a good idea. I know I lived in Hamilton for a lot of years, and that's the model they're looking at for the Hamilton Public Library. I live just up the road from Innisfil, which is sort of like a little bit south of Barrie in Ontario, and I was at their new Makers Lab, I think that's what they call it, and there's a media art, there's digital editing, they have cameras, you can rent and borrow equipment, they have a music studio, they have a 3D printer, and so the whole idea that libraries are now doing this, the only thing they haven't done is they haven't gotten into the diffusion. They haven't gotten into setting up radio stations and TV stations and, no web page dedicated to the community media center. So it's like there may be some really, really ripe opportunities there. And also, too, it's the idea, it's bringing people together. And I think that, for me, is one of the things that is, the most important as we venture into this new world of how are we going to create media, is to remember that it's about people and it's about connections, and there are many, many ways to do that, and face-to-face is still one of the best. And we at Rabble are always looking for brand new ways to do that. So anybody else, any final comments as we wind down? I'm not saying we should wind it down right now, but it's getting towards 5 o'clock. If you have anything you'd like to say, by all means. Okay, Chantal, any concluding remarks? Okay, so going once, going twice, I would like to thank Sid Tan from Vancouver. And wonderful community, you're doing great work out there still, so many years after I lived out there. And Chantal Bedard, thank you for sharing your experience. And I'm Victoria Fenner for Rabble.ca, and I wish you a good night, and hope a lot of you are able to come back tomorrow while we plan for the next phase of what this is we're doing in community media to develop what it is we love to do and we think is so important. So thank you so much for joining us, and have a lovely evening.
Hey, hanging up here.
Horrible.
I'm not bad at that.
Excellent. How long have you guys had a TriCaster?
5 years.
Oh, quite a while now. So
That's
when
the
it first came out.
That's the first investment we did when you started the adventure.
Before
we
cameras,
used
or
3 cameras.
oh, so all at the same time. We had to get like cameras first, and then years later we got the TriCaster. But now we're
But that's the
TriCaster is a
first.
switcher system, is it?
well, it's an advanced switcher system.
Oh,
It
okay,
does
yeah.
a lot of effects as well, very
neat,
well,
yeah.
and it streams online.
I am so
and
radio.
It's really cool and easy to use the TriCaster because you can use for a quick event, like you just put on internet and you can put 1 or 2 or 3 camera, but also we can add your computer with a website or a PowerPoint or a
videos
Word
that are uploaded already.
document or publicity or images, and you can add the title, subtitle, the name of the person, and you can add music, and you have a small sound managing.
Yes, yes.
Oh, yeah, a mixer.
A mix
Yeah.
of,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
A small mixer of that, and that it's quick, it's easy, and it's high resolution.
Yes.
Because if you stream in the same time, you can record local.
Oh, that's
A higher
HD,
quality,
yeah,
yes.
right.
the
Yeah.
document, the production, the
How
captation.
expensive is this?
You can multi-stream, which
Oh.
like in Final Cut, so
Yeah,
you can record all 3 cameras
Uh-huh.
and then go back and
Yeah,
cut if you need
or
to.
if you
and-
want, you can mix in live.
Yes.
Camera 1, camera 2, camera 3.
And so
tac,
how
tac, tac.
expensive?
And for
if
the
you're-
kids,
Yeah, yeah.
it's cool, it's easy.
Yeah.
It just shows the view you want, and that's what you stream.
Mhm.
But if you want to do editing after, because
Uh-huh.
it's for a more nice
Playback.
movie,
Yeah, right,
more
right, yeah.
more
Yeah, so it's not so
finishing,
much
and
on
you
the
want
fly,
to
yeah.
editing a little bit, then you just take the MPEG iRes HD.
Yeah.
You can choose the size you want, and after that, in editing, you can complete your editing.
Slide the edits a bit,
Yeah.
fix the boo-boos.
And how much? That's always.
But too depending. I paid around $8,000,
Mhm.
but ça fait 5 years. 5 years pass.
Yes.
But,
Okay.
but it's the
It's
cheapest.
TriCaster?
Not the cheapest, but the basic
Yeah,
machine.
it's, yeah,
You
it's,
can
yeah.
you can add more feature. You can add
Right.
4 camera. You can.
Did you get the physical switcher as well, or do you use the interface?
I use the interface.
Oh, because the switcher
I know.
itself is so much, like, especially for sports.
I know.
By the time you
yeah,
click, it's
yeah.
like over.
But I
you
use
just-
my keyboard.
Yeah.
Yes,
Keyboard
yeah.
and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
And what kind of cameras? Do you go DSLR or camcorder with it? Or
Um,
broadcast quality or?
We've got broadcast,
prosumer?
we spent about $10,000 each on JVC shoulder mountable.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
Or
pretty
you can
broadcast,
use
yeah.
a very.
But you can
You
use
can use
Yeah.
every camera you want.
Anything
You
you want.
just need
Yeah.
to connect with a
Well, I'm
component
interested-
or
yeah.
SDI
You can
or
actually plug in
HDMI.
too,
Yeah.
an HD camera, an
Yeah.
SD camera,
Yeah, okay,
and
yeah.
you can mix them together, which a lot of other units
Yeah,
don't do.
and the quality doesn't look like really, whoa, different cameras here, yeah.
But
Well, you'd have to play down
You
the
need
lowest
to do
quality.
your white balance.
Yes.
before.
Yeah, right,
That-
right.
But that's
That hasn't changed.
Yeah, right.
That's the
Yeah.
reality of
No, I'm
college.
interested in that because at Ravel, then we also do live streaming for conferences and things like that. And I do the audio on it, but I'm learning how to do the live streaming. And so we use livestream.com.
Okay,
Yeah, and
yes.
then we just.
Okay, but live stream it's okay. It's a nice.
Yeah,
It's same of you
but
stream or
if we had
YouTube or.
if we had more money and more clients, then that is something that we would look at upgrading to. We came very close to getting a grant from Canadian Heritage to buy equipment to beef up our live stream system. We came that far, but the thing was, I think they looked at our website and said, "You don't like Stephen Harper, do you?"
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
apply now.
yeah. I know, I'm
People are-
very, very aware of that it's like our window may be off, maybe
Every
opening.
month I use the TriCaster to cap city council
Yeah.
Yes.
of Laval.
Yeah.
Laval.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a big city north of
Yeah,
Montreal.
yeah.
And we use that with 3 camera, and
Yeah.
that's really clear. The sound is perfect, and
Yeah.
it's HD quality well.
Well, that's good. I'm learning a lot about television. I've done some work in video, but it's been mostly in radio and print. So anyway, so it's like fount of information. So anyway, thank you very much,
You're
Chantel.
welcome.
Yes.
Thank you
That
very
was
Merci
much.
beaucoup.
really, yeah.
And 3City TV, where are you exactly?
We're outside of Vancouver, so Coquitlam.
Okay.
Yeah, I know Sid very well. We worked together for years and
Okay,
years.
it's a community TV or?
Well, we're community access TV, so we
Okay.
produce programs, two
Like us.
programs a week, but we deliver to Shaw, they broadcast.
To the exactly.
But I'm very encouraged by the discussion on libraries, about getting involved in
Yeah,
libraries and
yeah.
becoming our own, cut Shaw out completely and
Yeah.
get our transmitter
Yeah.
and,
Well, and the thing is too, they have an obligation to carry some signals from community groups as well. So I think if you were to say, you have to broadcast our stuff, then it's like, I don't know what the current laws are or anything like that, but, they would have a hard time saying no if, because I think being available on cable and on the air and everything, it's like, I have been mostly in the broadcast world, but now I'm mostly internet, and I've kind of been lost in that internet world, thinking, oh yeah, everybody's online, but they're
it's
not.
not a job.
They're not.
Yes and no,
Yes
but
and no.
it's not a job.
Yeah, we can't ignore it
The
either,
consumer
yeah.
change
Mhm.
how you consume the TV.
Yeah,
But he want to consume TV, but he change the platform.
yeah.
But in my region, depending where, because the small community, the people have the tradition to listen to traditional TV.
Yeah.
But Vaudreuil-Soulanges is really young. That's we have a baby boom. And
Yeah,
the
right,
people
yeah.
is really young.
Yeah.
And the people don't
watch TV at home.
forget the TV.
I know,
and
that's
go
happening
just
all over the
online
place,
with
yeah.
Netflix
Yeah.
or this kind of and it's not a job.
I know it's
And I have
not.
more-
It's just expensive if you don't have high-speed access, if you're not in a city.
But
Like
we
when
had this
people tell
discussion
me,
a few of us this morning, and some people were saying, like, why do you even bother with TV? Just go to the internet. And it's like, right now is a time to still use TV to
Yeah.
grab audience. Well, you can,
Yeah,
right?
right,
So,
yeah.
'cause you're much more accessible on TV. People flipping by see you.
Well, the thing is, in the gains that we make right now, like thinking of the positioning that Kathy and her group is wanting to do with the CRTC, I was involved with the Community Radio Fund when we got the CRTC to say, yes, private broadcasters, you have to give them money. We went from like $200,000 one year, which was practically none the year before that, to they're up to a few million now. And it's like, that was very, very hard work, but that was the wedge in the door. And the money is already there. It's how it's allocated is a difference. And so,
But it's not your direct to the access producer like us.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
just they stay on the cable distributor
yeah,
team.
yeah.